Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode
Hello.
of Empathy Power Up with Amy J. Wilson and Kevin Shaw. We took a break last week for from the happiness topic, and we celebrated Amy's book anniversary, 1 year of launch.
Mhm.
Congrats again! And then this week is Amy's birthday week, and it's happening in 2 days. So happy birthday in advance, Amy. We love you. I hope
Mhm.
you have a
Aw,
wonderful moment of just time for yourself, for you
I
to
will
be
be.
the amazing you are. Um,
Thank you. You're amazing too. I can't wait to
um,
celebrate your birthday when it comes around.
um, in other updates, we are going to now change our from next week onwards. We're going to move the empathy power up from Tuesdays to Wednesdays every week, same time, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. East Coast, and it's really just us to get right in the middle of the week to give us a little bit more of that boost and give time. Tuesdays become a busy day for both of us, and we think maybe it might be busy for other people as well. So Wednesday gives us a little bit of that break. So we're going to now switch to Wednesdays. So um, watch out. That's starting next week as well. We're excited about next week's episode. But today, let's dive into happiness. So far, what we've talked about is we've spent a month now talking about happiness. We broke it down. We understood it, and all in the service of trying to sort of discover and explore this new theory that I'm proposing about happiness drivers and the theory of happiness, where I, based on my experience and the time I've spent reflecting with me and the close ones around me, I believe that we all have a fundamental happiness driver. That, I mean, happiness is complex, and we do derive happiness from various experiences and things. But what I mean is that there has to be this driver that is part of our identity, that we believe should be, that I believe that the theory, and maybe the theory will be wrong, but we're testing it out, is that if that driver is missing in any experience, we will not be genuinely happy. And speaking of genuinely happy, we talked about genuine happiness, and we also talked about deriving happiness from others versus ourselves, and how our system has been designed to have expectations of that. Oh, I will be happy if I make my dad happy or my mom happy if I do this, versus
Mhm.
I will be happy if I make myself happy. And this whole idea is we should be deriving our happiness from ourselves.
Mhm.
So today, to understand, the goal is we'll see if we can try to get to Amy's happiness driver, or see if that is something. And so to start there, the first thing I invite Amy is, Amy would love to hear a
Mhm.
happy moment from your life, one that you
Mm.
remember with a lot of joy, and you remember in the moment feeling genuinely happy for
Mm.
yourself, not for others.
Yes. Okay. Well, I have a prop for this one
Sure.
that I brought. Because you asked me ahead of time. It's not like I just do this. Here's a big ass trophy that I received. It's got lots of things on it. There's like some tennis balls in here. It's because and I received this award. There's like this group that is really appreciates the Presidential Innovation Fellows program, which I was part of, and we're like entrepreneurs in residence for the White House. It was putting it in place. I started in the Obama White House, went into the Trump White House. So it was probably like, I think it was 2017, and this organization has like it's just a social organization in a lot of ways to bring people together and bridge gaps between different groups. And this organization recognized me as a kind of like an innovator among the innovators, so to speak. So almost like best piff of the year, right?
Mhm.
And I remember that day specifically because we were at the Congressional Country Club, and it was just like a special time. It's always cool to be like, oh, I'm in this like exclusive place, which is a little frou-frou for me, but it's still nice, you know. And we're in this place. I knew I was getting something, right? And I was like, they all were like, make sure you come. And I had invited, usually I invite my parents to this. This time I
Mhm.
invited my Aunt Tina and Uncle Mike, who I'm close to come. And they were just so excited to be in the space and engage. And I remember when they called my name to come up and people said the positive things about me. Like I just was like so full of like joy inside. I was like, oh my goodness, like recognition is so important to so many people, but it was especially important to me because I mean, this was before I had the really rough time at the end of the other administration, but it was that I look back on that and being like, oh, like I think, in the times when I felt like I might have misstepped, I actually can look back and be like, oh, actually, I did great things and people recognized me for that. So those were things that I really enjoyed. And I distinctly remember my Aunt Tina like bawling her eyes out. And she's like sitting there, she's like, that's my niece. And she's like crying. I could see her in the corner of my eye. And I was smiling from ear to ear. And so it was that thing where I got recognition for doing really hard work. And it's, a lot of stuff changing cultures is not easy. Right. So, and now I've got this big ass, like, trophy to show for it, that I can look up at, it's right up, it's usually up here that I can bring joy to me too.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. And so what a great story. Love it. I wrote down some words that came to mind when you shared that. And for folks listening, the way I'm sort of approaching how you get to your happiness driver, we're going to do a really fast version of it that we're seeing today. And I'll just put out more content around how to dive in deeper to yours. So now let's do a second story, one where it's not as big of a highlight, but something day to day that brings you happiness or joy, something that you remember. It can be recent, it can be past, whatever. It's just something that made you happy in the moment.
I think something that recently gave me happiness is like planning the trip I'm about to leave for tomorrow. Is sitting there and looking and thinking about the possibilities of what the experience might be like and what it will be like living in this place and being in warm weather. That gave me a lot of joy.
So can you talk about one that's already happened? Because this one will be hard to break down since it's the anticipation.
Got it. Okay. Something that already happened. So I think what was good this past weekend, I was able to go to celebrate with my family my birthday. And there's a number of birthdays around this time, but my Aunt Tina made her special meatballs and pasta. And I got to sit around the family and watch Encanto, which was lovely with family. And I just remember looking around and being like, I feel really happy right now.
So tell me, what were the moments in that experience that you highlights that gave you that joy? So that's a great summary. Give me some specific moments.
I think it's gathering with other people, right? For me, I live alone and I do a lot of things that in life can be lonely in a lot of ways. It was getting a homemade meal was nice. And even the next night I stayed and had French onion soup that was homemade. Right. And just knowing that somebody made that with love and care. And just I didn't really receive a ton of gifts. That's not what matters to me, but it matters that I got to hug. My love language is hugging, or touch, right? Physical touch. And so, and just my mom was even Amy, I'm so happy that my daughters are together and that we all get to chat and engage with each other. And so gave an extra squeeze to my mom.
Great story. Love that. And very relatable story, I think, for a lot of people. I as I was taking notes for these two, one word that stood out to me in both, and I'll pitch it to and for you to think about: seen.
Okay.
So the word seen came in both of those. One was about recognition, and your aunt and uncle were there, and they got to see that, and you felt seen in the moment, even before the whole craziness had happened with that administration. And you got to go celebrate your birthday. You felt seen because people prepared food for you. Your mom said, "Oh, I get to celebrate this with both my daughters," so you were included in there. And so this word now, what do you think of that word when you hear the word now for yourself?
I feel like I seek being seen. I mean, I think that's a universal human emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
In one of my support groups, when somebody shares something vulnerable, some people say, "Thank you for sharing. You've been heard."
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that pops up for me when you said that, was like
Mm.
being heard and seen, and that feeling that when somebody acknowledges you,
Mm.
and then a second thing happened was, like, I think I saw something on Facebook earlier today where somebody was saying, I think it was one of my extended family members, was like, loneliness happens not because you're alone, but because you think that you're being forgotten.
Oh, wow, that's a
Right.
powerful. Yeah.
Right. And so this feeling that you're being forgotten about. And then I started going down this rabbit
Yeah.
hole with Coco, and like, anyway, so
So,
the Disney film
can,
Coco.
can you think of another happy moment, a third one, or a sad moment, whatever, um, whichever one you want to go down, either works, and and you don't have to share it, but just take a moment to think, or if you want to share it, that's absolutely lovely as well,
Mm-hmm.
to see if this word is in that or not. And it's not like, is it in there? Do you, or reflect through different happy moments or sad moments, and do you, is there one you can think of where seen or feeling understood or feeling heard wasn't part of that experience?
I feel like, I guess you could interpret it in an interesting way. Like, sometimes I feel joy just by doing something by myself
Please share.
without other people validating me, right? It's not always about validation,
Yeah.
but in a way, I guess that could be like, I'm seeing myself and appreciating and embracing myself. In a way, with that, is just being like, instead of getting external validation, trying to be like, okay, I'm okay however I am, and
Yeah.
I'm good enough. So that's something that pops up to me.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, because for me, the word that I believe that is my fundamental driver for happiness is width. For me, I seek out width. And what's interesting is I need width. So when I'm by myself, it's I can think, I can do, but I'm usually with my dog, or I'm with my husband.
Mhm.
Or when I'm truly just completely by myself, it just feels weird. It just feels like
Mm.
I'm waiting for the next width. And so, like you said, even when you're by yourself, you feel understood by yourself, you feel seen by yourself, and that might give you joy, happiness as well. So this is so the theory and this exercise we went through was a demonstration for folks. I believe each of us have a fundamental happiness driver, and we can think of different things that we're like, no, I have happiness from this XYZ. But if you break it down further to see if there's more components, break it down to, you cannot break it down any further. We all have this driver that if we remove it from that experience, we may not get the genuine happiness, or we may not feel joy. And the reason I'm proposing this theory is, like, if we are intentional, we understand that about ourselves, then we will make sure that when we are having experiences, that we include that happiness driver, and then we focus on our own happiness. And so that is sort of the high level theory of happiness, where we started, which was, the idea is, first, let's expand the definition of happiness. Currently, it's about the feeling of pleasure and contentment. But really, what I'm saying is, let's expand it to say, happiness is the moment where we feel extremely empathetic and extremely selfish at the same time. That gives us the feeling of contentment and joy and pleasure. That is how I recommend we expand our definition, because I believe the fundamental reason why I say that is, to be happy is a selfish act, and it should be okay to be that way. But when we are extremely empathetic, it ensures that we are not deriving our happiness from unintentional or intentional harm of others, other things. So that's why I want to expand that definition. And then the idea is to understand yourself further. You can break down these different experiences, even in your darkest time. What was the thing that pulled you out of that darkest time? Feeling seen, feeling understood, feeling heard. When that happened, it successfully pulled you out of those dark times. So when we hold on to that and we understand that, then we can be more intentional about our day-to-day. And so that is sort of the high level theory of happiness that I'll be publishing.
Yeah, I have a couple things that
Yeah.
come up for me when you said that is like, going back to one of the earlier sessions that we had in about happiness is that the idea of hedonism.
Hmm.
Um, Hedonism has kind of a connotation that seems like you're always looking for not validation, but like the joy. You're always looking for something that gives you pleasure, right? I
Hmm.
guess that's the word.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Right. You're always looking for pleasure, but hedonism seems like it's almost like narcissism, right? It's like the continuous development of pleasure, right?
Yeah, it
And
is. It is.
yeah, whether we like it or not, right? Like, I mean, whether we, it's not like you don't care about each other. Hedonism to me sounds like I'm just going to care about myself, right? And that's why I kind of like when people say they're an hedonist, I'm like, you're not going to care about anybody else, like but yourself, right?
And even if they do care, it's their
Yeah.
pleasure may be derived from unintentional harm from others they might be unaware of, or
Mhm.
something that may not help the world. What we're trying to change is our happiness should derive from the eudanistic approach, which is more experiential, and it's
Mhm.
more about the idea that I can be selfish and I can be empathetic in the same moment. And
Mhm.
that makes me
Mhm.
happy. And that's good. And
Mhm.
that's how I
Mhm.
believe. I feel like that most of the time when I exist, that's the feeling I feel like, which I'm
Okay.
in, I am. And so in this whole journey we went together for happiness, first, thank you for going with me on this journey. The idea is let's see if we can bring another tool out into the world for people to understand themselves and to get to
Mhm.
the happiness instead of just pursuing it, living with happiness and really prioritizing happiness as
Mhm.
step one. Because if I truly believe if we were happy people, then we would help the community and others around us be happy, and it is
Mhm.
infectious, it is contagious, it is something that our community and the world needs. And so that's
Mhm. Mhm.
that's the journey of happiness we went in.
Yeah.
um for
Interesting.
time, Amy, what are we doing next week? I want to make sure that we cover that.
Yes.
If anyone has any thoughts on happiness, please reach out. I'll be putting out
Mhm.
the theory of happiness document soon. But
Yeah, for
Amy,
sure.
love to hear what's
Oh
happening
yeah,
next week.
absolutely. So I think along with happiness, we Kevin and I have been thinking about in the month of February, right? Valentine's Day is right around the corner. That happens to be my sister's birthday. So we're both Aquarians. But I think, with that, we've been thinking deeply about love and what does love mean? And I think happiness and love, there's some bit of overlap. Maybe that's something we can discuss next week. But we're actually thinking about love and that human emotion and, how might we show it more readily? What does it mean? And how can we grow more love around us? So
Love it.
that's what the theme is going to be next week, but it's going to be on Wednesday at 3 rather than Tuesday at 3. So join us there. Holly, I acknowledge your amazing conversations in the chat, and thank you for people are proud for your accomplishments. That gives you happiness. And that's love deep down inside. To bring this all full circle is that when people feel, you can feel love from other people, that you can derive happiness from there. So on that note, I think we're going to end there. But Kevin, thank you for taking us on this journey this past like 6 weeks or something like that on happiness, because you had this aha moment where you're like, oh, happiness, there's a lot of drivers of happiness, there's a lot of things. So I'm so grateful to have you give us your insights into that, and for me to like talk openly about what brings me joy and happiness. So I'm looking forward to the next few conversations.
All right.
So,
Take care, everyone.
bye.